Okay, now it is. Okay.
Sorry. Well, I won't start over, but I will just continue here. The exhibition Divide Up Those in Darkness from the Ones Who Walk in the Light at the Catherine E. Nash Gallery celebrates the extraordinarily innovative vision and artistic career of Associate Professor David Feinberg. Professor Feinberg has long been ahead of the curve in his dedication to collaborations with members of various communities and sharing stories of trauma and resilience through artworks and documentaries. David Feinberg has taught at the University of Minnesota for 50 years and is notably the longest serving faculty member in the history of the Department of Art. David's list of accomplishments is long and a distinguished one. David has received many awards and accolades for his teaching and art practice over the years. He received the CEE Distinguished Teacher of the Year Award in 2002, and most recently the University of Minnesota's Community Engaged Scholar Award, and has been awarded Professor Emeritus status. Summarizing David Feinberg's artistic, teaching, and community-based activity over the past 50 years is nearly impossible. The number of students and community members he has worked with is truly staggering. He has taught over 300 courses, which is just mind-boggling, at the University of Minnesota. He has worked with students from the Undergraduate Research Opportunities Program and the Dean's First Year Research and Creative Scholars Program. He's worked with those students each year since the program started. He has led a professional art practice critique group from 1992 to present. And so that is just a remarkable and distinguished career in teaching. But David has had an illustrious career as an artist. He has worked with over 200 participants in the Voice to Vision project since 2002. Notably, and I'm giving you these numbers because they're so impressive, notably over 14,000 Voice to Vision documents, including artworks, narratives, and video documentaries, have been downloaded by the public in the last 7 years from the University of Minnesota's Library Conservancy. David has exhibited his work extensively, both nationally in New York, Florida, North Dakota, North Carolina, California, Iowa, and Texas, as well as internationally in Europe, Africa, and Latin America. The Department of Art, the College of Liberal Arts, and the University of Minnesota, and the broader community are all beneficiaries of David Feinberg's extraordinary energy and commitment. David Feinberg's work will continue to impact current and future generations of artists and scholars. His work and career bear witness to the most difficult and heart-wrenching parts of personal and political histories, while being a cathartic way for people to process these events and to ensure that we all work collectively to prevent future acts of tragedy and injustice. And I just want to say that I personally feel deeply grateful to David as a teacher, artist, colleague, and friend for being an enduring inspiration and showing us the path to walk in the light. I hope most of you had a chance to see David's exhibition at the Nash Gallery. I know some of you are beaming in across the nation, but it is a truly extraordinary show. So we have a video to share with you so you can catch a glimpse of the work. And I just want to thank Karen Hazelman for creating the video and Kim Chi Huang for the music. So now, Karen, I'll turn it back over to you so you can share the video with our guests.
Hey folks, so I want to thank everybody for joining us, and I created this video over the last week and a half, and it's going to get dark for a second. I'm going to bring up the video. I just ask everybody to stay muted, and then we can enjoy 5 minutes of watching the work that David's been involved in. Here we go.
Seeking truth is the way to originality. The only true thing a person has is their unique perception of the world. David Feinberg. David Feinberg has taught at the University of Minnesota for 50 years and is notably the longest-serving faculty member in the history of the Department of Art. Feinberg's list of accomplishments is a long and distinguished one. David's early work focused on representational painting using oil on canvas. This was followed by a period of abstract work on canvas. In 1976, David started drawing and painting on gessoed panels, returning to a representational style. He drew on his own personal history for content. Having studied 3D product design at Parsons School of Design as an undergraduate, he eventually started adding 3D pieces to his work. He became aware of a concept he called unexpected significance, in which an object brings back memories from one's unconscious. He began using prompts like old toys and other objects from his junk drawer to elicit recollections from storytellers. In 1987, Feinberg became interested in history more widely, particularly World War II, and tragedies such as the Buddy Holly plane crash, Amelia Earhart's disappearance, the shipwreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, and the Hinckley Fire. His investigations of World War II led to a particular interest in the Holocaust, which is part of his own cultural history. Beginning in 2002, Professor Feinberg's ongoing Voice to Vision project involves collaboration and includes oral and visual testimony from diverse cultures. Voice to Vision captures the extraordinary experiences of people from different parts of the world who have encountered human atrocities. Their stories are first shared through dialogue and then transformed into works of visual art. The art pieces are created through a collaborative team of artists, students, witnesses, storytellers, and activists. As the storytellers share their experiences, members of the team exchange ideas and make creative decisions together to produce a work of art that profoundly affects audiences. The collaboration process is documented on video so that various communities and future generations can experience it. The project seeks to educate the public and stimulate discussion about difficult topics. The Voice to Vision team also hopes to inspire others to use the visual arts to investigate their own personal histories. As Professor Matthew Ziefeld notes, David is an innovator of hybridization. He has always blurred the lines between teaching, research, and service, including students in research, bringing research into the classroom, interweaving service to the community into research. David's longtime friend, Petra Jonita Lohman, shared this observation about David. His life as an artist and as an educator has always been an example to his students of how they should approach their gifts and how they should publicly share them.
We're back.
Thank you, Karen, for putting together that really powerful video. Really appreciate it. It was beautifully done. And I don't know if Kim Chi is here, but Kim Chi, that is Kim Chi's composition that you heard behind it. And David, that's your daughter's flute as well? That's incorporated into that music? So tonight we'll have the opportunity to hear from people whose lives have been touched by David's vision and work over his career. And the first person that we're inviting to speak is Beth Andrews. Beth, would you like to unmute yourself?
Yes, I did. There we go. Good evening. I met David when I took a painting workshop from him at the Cloquet Forestry Center back when the Split Arts program was in full swing. I signed up because I'd heard that he was a master teacher. I went hoping to improve my painting skills, thinking I might paint some birch trees, some wildflowers and the like, and I did. But on the second night, David showed the class one of his voice to vision videos. I was dumbstruck and profoundly moved. And I knew almost immediately that I wanted to work on the project. So I volunteered to help David in his studio. I think it was to water your plants, David, because you had an accident. You had an accident, maybe you'd broken your leg or something. And then over the years, my participation grew until I became the associate director of the project. So I'm the associate director of Voice Division. So when preparing for this evening, I noticed that I was reflecting on David and his work through the lens of my training. I have a master's degree in theology, and I am a trained listener, certified even. So hold on to your hearts, because you're going to hear a lot about love from me. And I promise I won't get too mushy. But through this lens, I see David's work as grounded in his love for the world, in his compassion for people, his passion for art, and in his joyful presence. Indeed, I see the Voice Division project as a testament to these gifts. So I'll start with his compassion. In Voice to Vision, David's compassion is turned toward those who have suffered, towards outsiders, towards those on the margins. He told me that he can remember having some of these concerns very early in life. And as a child, David, I think I'm remembering this correct, this showed up in imagining battles like between the forces of good and evils. In fact, one of your first drawings was of a pirate ship engaged in a battle with a police boat in a harbor. And you made that when you were 2, I guess. And you still have it. I've seen it.
3.5.
3.5. Okay, that's better because it's awfully impressive for a 2-year-old. So I believe that this compassion has fueled David's commitment to seek out people whose stories need to be told. And that's not always easy. It involves some persuasion and persistence, and it takes time. Then when a new person does come into the studio for the first time, David's compassion has led him to develop tools that make a person feel at ease. And actually, we saw the one that I wanted to talk about with the toys. That was the example I'm going to give, is that he has a collection of these small random toys that he keeps in a tin can. And at the first session, we often spread those toys out over the table and invite the new participant to choose one and to explain why. It's a completely non-threatening first step. It's fun even. It works to break the ice. But here's where David's passion for the process of making art comes into play. He knows that by making this first artistic choice, the participant begins to connect to memory. David knows how to use the simple elements of art, like color, line, drawing, images, photography, to encourage a storyteller to dive deeper into memory. And you saw a lot of that in the video. You saw people drawing on them and adding things to the works of art. Slowly over time, all the choices that the participant makes, when it's assembled by the team, develop into beautiful works of art, such as those that are on display now in the Nash Gallery. As stunning as these works are, the stories from which they are created often involve suffering, frantic escapes, loss, and trauma. So people ask me, they ask me a lot, how do you guys do this work? And this brings me to the last of David's gifts I'll mention. his quality of presence. David has a talent for transforming his studio into a sacred place where participants feel safe sharing their tender stories. And as a theologian and a listener, I had to learn how to do that. And he really has a natural talent for it. This project could not exist without that. I also tell people that we laugh a lot, which surprises them. And I suppose that most of you have heard David's laugh, and it's a completely ridiculous, infectious giggle. Go ahead, if you want to hear it. So unexpected coming from a former competitive bodybuilder. In closing, David, I just want to say congratulations on your retirement. And thank you for sharing your gifts with the world.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, Beth, for those beautiful comments. Really appreciate that. Next up, we have Luis Ramos Garcia.
Hello, you all. I was gonna talk without any piece of paper, but I decided that perhaps this was a little emotional, so I will forget something. So I wrote something. So just bear with me. So it goes this way. The merger of a great artist and talented educator occurs rarely, once in a lifetime. Such a person first lives and then tells others how they may live likewise. For me, the artist and preceptor was and is David Feinberg. David's art installations and paintings assembled with great care and distinction have given us some idea of the workings of his mind, the growth of his thoughts, and the pragmatic art techniques which he adopted across the years. Nevertheless, David's life is rooted in a passionate search for excellence and a heartful respect for humankind. He has dedicated his entire life to the perpetual quest for truth wherever he could find it. He knew no distinction between friends and strangers, countrymen and foreigners, white or brown, Christians or Jews. That is what Latin Americans and Spanish theater artists, playwrights, directors, and I immediately recognized when we met him 6 years ago here at the university. There was no falseness in this man. As we agreed to work together, strangers that we were, incapable to speaking each other's languages and coming from different cultures, a Grand Challenges Research grant allows us to dream and create some of what you can see today at the Nash Gallery. A number of art installations that came from David's studio after combining art and theater under a voice to vision from the art department and the State of Ibero-American Studies series, Spanish and Portuguese projects. There were 6 years of rich experiences where David's name and creativity came to be known among artists and scholars from the Spanish-speaking world, where at the most prestigious European Theater Festival dedicated to Latin American theater, a replica of David's painting was exhibited and donated to La Tía Norica, an art institution founded in the 18th century in Cádiz, Spain. David and I were planning to go to La Habana, Cuba, invited by Casa de las Americas Pinacoteca, one of the largest and best art collections in Latin America. But while we were planning this project, he decided to retire. Needless to say, I could not do it without him. And this remarkable art and theater dream is over. We will miss you, David, my art mentor and my friend. Buena suerte, maestro.
Thank you very much. That was nice.
Thank you so much, Luis. I'd like to invite David Jordan Harris. Thank you, David.
Good evening, everyone. I met David just over 15 years ago when he approached the organization I direct, Rimon, the Minnesota Jewish Arts Council, for a grant to help his Project Voice division upgrade its technical equipment. David and his team had begun to film the working sessions of Voice Division, but the microphones weren't really good enough for the level of documentation the production team had in mind. Ramon gave Voice Division the money because it was clear that this was an undertaking that would matter immensely to the community and that David was charting new territory with it. So when you meet David Feinberg, he brings along the whole village, his students, his assistants, his colleagues, the community members he's working with. And that was the case when I met David in his studio. After what I thought was the visit, he suggested that I come back when his entire team for the current project and the 4 community members who were featured in it would be present. Next thing you know, I was in the project. I was in the working sessions, making marks on the canvas. I even wrote music for the documentary that was made about the 2 Rwandan sisters, Florianne Robbins Brown and Alice Tuza, and the elderly Jewish couple, Edith and Max Goodman, with whom they were paired. The film was called Romania 1941, Rwanda 1994. That experience moved me greatly and distilled for me David's talents. 1, he is a citizen artist. He tackles large themes in the culture and draws the community into his investigation. He has made his art making matter over and over again in settings that often aren't the usual spaces designated for professional art. 2, he honors the living and remembers the dead. Voice Division feels like an extended Kaddish, the Jewish prayer that acknowledges death by magnifying life. 3, he has chutzpah. He creates opportunities that participants didn't know they wanted. 4, the corollary. He has strong powers of persuasion. A long list of people have said yes to David Feinberg's chutzpah. 5, he builds bridges through his art that didn't exist prior to his efforts. I'm thinking about how he has juxtaposed the experience of Holocaust survivors with survivors of the 20th and 21st centuries' all too frequent genocides. But it's not enough that he has put these remarkable individuals in the same room. His innovative methods for engaging people in his artistic process has produced deep communication among the survivors. Even though their life stories had played out in different corners of the world. And yet here they were, all living in the Twin Cities at this moment in their lives, bearing the scars and insights from a past that was unimaginable to their neighbors. And lastly, there was the art itself. David might have said that the process was an end in itself, but he cared immensely about the objects that were in formation. His inventive way of inviting the survivors to use words and images from their storehouse of memories to tell a story on a canvas brought results that were fresh, authentic, and took viewers to a world they had never considered. The work I did with David 15 years ago wasn't the end of it. I looked for other ways to bring his talents outside of the university. Many of you know that Minneapolis's North Side has been a cherished home for many immigrant groups and minorities over the course of the last 100+ years. By the end of the 1940s, 60% of all of Minneapolis's Jews lived on the North Side. In 2011, Rimon produced a multidisciplinary arts festival called The North Side Today: Memory, Place, Home, Community. David gave a workshop exploring the ways in which memory and place inform each other. And as you would expect, it made a deep impression on the participants. Several years later, I was able to bring David and his artistic team into a Jewish teen educational program called Yachad, which means together. Kim Chi Huang spoke and sang about her experience surviving the traumas of the war in Vietnam. The students were asked to respond to her story with collaborative drawing exercises. Kim Chi commented afterwards on the ways in which the differences in life experience, culture, and age have been bridged by the activities in the workshop. Her story was no longer simply historical information for the students. It was part of their lives. I'll close my remarks by noting the numerous artists in several disciplines, including visual artist Ethan Rowan Pope and filmmaker Jeff Weinberg, who came to Rimon for supportive work that had its roots in voice division and who had been inspired by their experience with David. His work has been both generous and generative. A critical measure of a teacher and a human is the ripples they create in other lives. David, mazel tov on a profoundly moving teaching and artistic career that opened doors and windows in places that had been dark. Your endless Brooklyn-born curiosity and talents have made Minnesota a better place. Congratulations.
Wow, thank you so much, David. I appreciate that. That's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David. We really appreciate those inspiring words and giving us a larger picture of David's work. I'm now going to invite Petra Janita Lohman.
Yeah, I think I'm on there. I've known David. I want to thank David for letting me write that one, the essay in the catalog, because it was really nice to get some of my thoughts down. But I've known David for the whole 50 years he's been here, both as a student and a team teaching together, and just his friend. And so it's hard to pinpoint one in particular thing about David, but he said maybe come up with a humorous story, but I decided I one more poignant, and that is like where the image on the catalog and the divide up those in darkness from the ones who walk in light. Where did that originate from? And I was actually there when that happened, but in 1980 I was actually watching this dog, David's dog, and David was in New York visiting his mother, and he brought home a bunch of albums, vinyl, regular albums that we still remember from way back when. And there were Broadway shows. And he said, look at these, I brought these back, we can listen to these. And so I said, well, what do you have there? And so we started looking through them. He says, what do you want to listen to? So I said, well, how about this one? And I picked out Three Penny Opera, the original Broadway presentation of Three Penny Opera, the Blitzstein version with Lotte Lenya, and David Harris probably knows this because he's music. But that's the version to listen to. And so we put that on. And David said, my mother took me to this when I was 8 years old. And it's really weird. You sure you want to hear it? I said, yeah, I really want to hear it. So I said, okay, we put it on. And we sat there all night long listening to this. And David says, we're just getting engrossed in it, having discussions about it and what the music's about and the content of it. But basically, it really opened David up. Like all of a sudden he started connecting, and he said, this is what my art's all about. And at the end, the last song on Three Penny Opera is, the lyric goes something like, divide up those in darkness from the ones who walk in light. So what can you do about all this oppression in the world? And this was written during the rise of the Nazis in Germany. and Kurt von Bertolt Brecht eventually left, got out of there. But you divide up those in darkness from the ones who walk in life. And oh, by the way, victorious messenger does not come riding often. David remembered all these, and David was taking notes and he was writing down all the different expressions. And then the year afterwards, he had a show in New York where he used these titles, and on the catalog here, he eventually goes on to use some of the Three Penny Opera stuff in his paintings. So I thought you might be interested in that, like this whole title and where that came from. But then another aside to this story is I was reading in the 2000s, I was reading Bob Dylan's Chronicles. And in it, he almost devotes a whole chapter to when he first went to New York and heard the Three Penny Opera. And he said, after I heard that, I played the record over like 100 times. And then I decided, this is the type of songs I want to write. And I thought, wow, that's weird. That's the same story that I saw happen with David, you know? So it was very interesting. So that's where that all comes from. And congratulations, David. You really have done an amazing show. And I think everybody should see this show. It's very important. And thank you for your friendship for all these years too. We've had fun times.
Thank you, Petra. It's been a great ride. It's going to continue.
Thank you so much, Petra, for sharing those stories. Really enjoyable. I am now going to invite Professor Clarence Morgan, who has also been the chair of the department for 6 years and a longtime colleague of David Feinberg's and a member of the drawing, painting, and printmaking area. Clarence, would you like to unmute yourself?
Congratulations, David. Not bad from a guy from Brooklyn and a guy from Philly. So it's been a pleasure. Christine and I have been emailing back and forth. It's been a very exhausting week for many of us who teach in the Department of Art, but I couldn't resist the opportunity to put a few words to paper about David. So I'm going to be brief and I'm going to read a little something. As an artist, David represents a model of consistency, not only in his commitment to making art, but also as a teacher whose knowledge and generosity over the decades is unparalleled in the Department of Art. David exudes human qualities through his studio practice that I believe he will no doubt continue to share with communities beyond the university. Seeing that David and I share certain interests and affinities as painters, our proximity as colleagues has allowed me to observe his patience with students and to admire his ability to be a good listener. Personally, that's an area that I need to improve upon myself. He has worked with a broad range of students and people from diverse backgrounds, cultures, religions, and life experiences. There has always been a quality of inclusiveness in his interactions. David has a keen understanding for the differences between empathy and sympathy, as well as having a sensitive ear for hearing the inner voice of individuals who, for whatever reason, have been silenced. His voice to visions is but one example. I will end with the following. The quality of youthfulness was once described by the unforgettable and ingenious Walt Disney as, quote, that precious, ageless something in every human being which makes them play with children's toys, I like that, and laugh at silly things and sing in the bathtub and dream. Now, I got that last quote from a book called Another Tassel is Moved. And I don't know if you can see this. This was presented to my wife at her graduation from undergraduate school in Philadelphia in 1972. And it sort of reminded me, actually it's Another Tassel is Moved guidelines for college graduates. David is graduating, and it is a sort of rites of passage, I believe. And we've all know what a rite of passage is, but I looked it up in the dictionary, and this is what it said. Now, we shouldn't always believe everything that's written in the dictionary, but this might work. Okay, rite of passage, ceremonies that mark important transitional periods in a person's life, such as birth, puberty, marriage, having children, and death. Rites of passages usually involve ritual activities and teachings designed to relieve individuals of their original role and prepare them for new ones. And I think that's where we are with David. So David, congratulations on your retirement. I will be following you soon in December. Oh, pomegranate juice, by the way, pomegranate juice.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you so much, Clarence.
To you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Clarence, for that. And that concludes our formal speakers, but I am looking around the space and I see a number of other colleagues and wonderful former and current colleagues. And I just want to give just a few minutes of an opportunity if people want to say congratulations from the art department. So I don't want to be one of those teachers who calls on anyone unexpectedly, but if you'd like to raise your hand or unmute, please take this opportunity to do so.
Hello, my name is Lamar Peterson. I'm a current associate professor in the Department of Art. When I joined the department in 2011 as a term appointment, along with Clarence Morgan and Joyce Lyon, David was definitely one of my mentors. And one of the things I noticed about David is his generosity in and out of the classroom. After the death of George Floyd, the murder of George Floyd, diversity and inclusion has been very much a topic of discussion within the academia, within the university. And through, all along, David has been doing the work with Voice Division by bringing people together from different backgrounds, different communities to make artwork and share stories. He's been doing this work for many years, and I just want to thank him for that and thank the collaborators as well for the work that you created and again, doing the work necessary to move our society forward and bring people together. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Lamar. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Lamar, for that acknowledgement of David's work and his longtime dedication to that work. Joyce, did that look like your hand? Do you?
Yes, that was my hand. It's difficult to enter into this, David, because the people who have spoken before have been so eloquent and have pinpointed so many of the things that have been important about what you have given to everyone who's come in contact with you. So I just want to add on to that. I remember when I joined the department that you were part of, you helped me join, you helped me become part. And that generosity that people have spoken of was evident then. When you began the Voice Division program, I was part of that at the very beginning, and I was so impressed is not the right word. I was so moved to see how you had taken all of your attributes and put them to the service of connecting people and allowing them to tell their stories. And if this is a point of transition, I'm curious to see how you go forward, because I think it will be good. And I'm glad that we will have that generosity of spirit with us in other ways.
Thank you, Joyce.
Thank you so much, Joyce, for sharing those thoughts. And if you don't know, Joyce is a distinguished, can I call you an alumni now, a faculty member? Long time and much beloved faculty member in the Department of Art in the drawing and painting area. So thank you for joining us tonight. Is there anyone else who would like to speak before I invite David to the virtual podium. And I also invite you to write things in chat if you'd rather not speak out loud, but we can share this chat function if you're aware of that. If you press on that little chat box, it looks like a little bubble at the bottom that says chat. If you click on that, you can type in your words and phrases and then hit return, and then David will be able to see those.
Hi, I'm Ying. I would like to speak a little bit about David.
Thank you, Yang. Please go ahead.
Mute. Okay. So I'm his informal student. Most of the time I attend his workshop during the summer. And oftentimes I feel like every year that retreat, when I go to learn art, it's not just about art, but also I'm learning a lot of things about life from him. So I really appreciate David is teaching people about life also through art.
Thanks, Yang. Yang, who's also known as Claire, actually worked on some of my pieces. I needed some Chinese characters in my pieces, and Yang volunteered to draw them onto my piece, particularly the one about my uncle that's hanging in the gallery, who was a colonel in China after World War II. So Yang did that. She also I used her hand to pose and for the door that was opening to my father's explosion, painting of the pier explosion. I didn't know how to make up a hand, so I asked her during the workshop to hold on to a doorknob, and I drew it from her. She posed for that. So thank you for helping my artwork and becoming a collaborator in my artwork.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yang. Would anyone else like to speak before we ask David to share his thoughts?
Hi, Chris. I would like to speak.
Sure. Hi, Hui.
Hi. Hi, everybody. My name is Hui Ling So. I'm a professor of linguistics at the U. I have been really fortunate to have David as my mentor and art teacher for more than 15 years. I taken classes from David and participated in many of the annual art retreats as well as art critique groups. So David has been a very important person in my artwork. And so I feel that I've so enjoyed all these experiences, and also feel very lucky to be a member of the community of artists that David has helped bring together. And we learn so much from each other. And whenever we get together, for example, during one of these art retreats, we would laugh so much that my friend Ying, Claire just now who spoke, she would say that we have we would have 1 year's worth of laughing in 1 week. I think that's very characteristic of our experience. David taught me to be open to new discoveries in my painting, and not only to be comfortable with the unknown, but also to seek out the unknown. So because of David's teaching, painting has become a very important part of my life. And through painting, I explore my sense of self and the world around me. And I really want to thank David for this beautiful and important gift to me. Thank you.
Thanks, Wei-Ling. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Hui Ling. I know that you're an amazing painter, so thank you for those reflections. Last call before I turn the mic to David. Go ahead.
Yeah, Sylvia wants to say
Yeah,
something.
if I have a chance. Thank you, David, for being who you are, for being a mentor, and I would like to echo what the previous speaker said, how you have taught me, I've been a student of yours, to be open to discoveries. And this has and is very critical for my research career in science. The research process in science has so many things in common with the research process in art and life. And so having known you helped me to be a better scientist, other than a better human being, I hope. Thank you for everything.
Thank you. Okay. Sylvia, thanks.
Thank you, Sylvia, so much. Okay, David, I am going to say congratulations, and I'm going to turn the mic over to you if you want to have a few thoughts and remarks here.
Yeah, I think something that always comes up when I meet people is they ask me how you got started in voice to vision, and why did you do it, and what led to it, as if I decided one day to do it. I don't invent things. Things grew in my mind for years before I they actually come out and show up in my artwork. And so reflection is the most important aspect of art, in my opinion, because it says it's still there after 10 years. I better use it in artwork because it's not going to go away. So it's all your experience in the past. But I first got started in voice to vision without even knowing it. My father, when I was in public school, was a food importer to all the different communities, cultural communities in New York. He'd go down to the docks and unload whatever the people ordered from the Puerto Rican community, from the Black community in Harlem, the Italian community, and the Arab community from Atlantic Avenue in Brooklyn, and the German community. And so it goes on and on. And so I used to ride with him when school was out. My mother worked and my father worked, so I had to go to work with my father rather than staying alone at home. And I met all these people. And when my father's truck delivering the goods from the docks into their neighborhood, all the kids from that neighborhood would be running on both sides of his truck, as helping him get into the neighborhood and yelling, "Hiya, Joe, hiya, Joe." That was my father's name. And my father would stop the truck in front of the grocery store or the restaurant and get out and go in and take me with him, and would meet the owner, and my father would introduce me to them. And then the owner would call his kids in from playing in the street, and he would introduce his kids to them. And they would talk family for like 20 minutes. And then the store owner and my father would unload together. When this particular store owner retired, he invited my father to Puerto Rico. And I went with him, and we visited him in Puerto Rico. And so this wasn't just business, this was friends. And these people who weren't educated were my heroes. They created their own businesses, they supported their families, they loved America, and so I looked up to them. And it was all these different communities. And then on the other side, so that was like voice to vision, me meeting all these different cultures. We had, in my house, we had refrigerator, up in our refrigerator, there was all these foreign foods in my refrigerator. So you learn about the different cultures through the foods they ate, and we ate those foods. On my mother's side, my mother was a professor. She got her doctorate from Columbia University. My father never graduated from high school, and married my mother. And my psychology teacher, when I first entered college, gave us a survey. And on my first day of class, she called me into her office and said, "I don't like you making fun of my surveys." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "My surveys don't, my research has never had somebody didn't graduate, marry somebody who had a doctorate degree." So I told her it was the truth and she believed it. But my mother, since she was educated, and she used to take me when I was a child to see the Three Penny Opera, as Peter mentioned, to also see, and this scared me to death, I saw Enemy of the People, written by Ibsen, when I was 8 years old. And there was a small off-Broadway theater, and when they threw the brick through the window, it slid through the stage and fell right in front of my feet. Some of you might know the story of that. And then also the Dollhouse I saw of Ibsen, as well as many others. So this is my background as a young kid, experiencing all this thing and remembering it forever. So I wanted to say that's where Voice Division started. I didn't know it until I got the project started. That's where it came from. So let me see if there's anything else I wrote down. I want to keep it short. One of the things I wanted to say about teaching, I went to the State University of New York at New Paltz, which is certifies teachers for the entire state of New York, and is one of the best programs in the nation for teaching. And I did student teaching, and I was the county art teacher in upstate New York, my first job. So so I learned how to teach. And one of the things I learned from teaching and going through that whole process of student teaching and being county teacher was that the teaching is supposed to make people think for themselves, not to be dependent on you. And that was very important to me because a lot of teachers are creating followers, and they're trying to get followers to boost their own career. And that's not teaching, that's manipulation. And I've always been against manipulation. I actually was trained to be an art director at Parsons School of Design. And when I went into the business of working for an advertising agency, I quit because I realized when I was a student, I was getting rewarded for coming up with all these great ideas in advertising, being trained to be an art director. And when I got into the field, I found these people weren't so nice. They were the enemies. They were the manipulators. They were the rich people trying to get richer. And I didn't want to spend my whole life in that atmosphere of people that weren't very nice at all. If anybody's ever been in Madison Avenue. And so I walked out and I told the secretary or the receptionist, who was very beautiful, as I was leaving, I said, I just realized this is not the career I want to be in, and I'm going to enroll in the State University of New York. And I said, I'm leaving. You can tell the bosses they don't have to pay me for the last week's pay. It was worth it to find out what my true direction was. And so I left. And so I was leaving. I walked to the door, opened the door, I had my back to the receptionist, and she yells out, I wish I was you. And so then I stopped for a second, and I thought for a second, should I ask her for a date? And then I said, no, I got to get out of here. I got to get to my new life, and I left. So that's one of my stories. So, well, anyway, the idea of students thinking to themselves, what happens is that all the students I've worked with who I've affected, and also all the people who worked with me on Voice Division, we bonded as friends. They're not followers of me. I learned from them. I didn't know anything about the history of the world until I did Voice Division. And all of a sudden I can lecture on almost every culture now of what I've learned, speaking to the main source and the people who live their life in those countries. So you learn from each other, and the teaching is the idea of how much can the students teach you as much as you can teach them. And so what you do is you bond as friends, not as teacher-student relationship. Friends and friends. And I didn't realize as a kid from Brooklyn how many friends I would make. It's just staggering. I never dreamed that could come true. And all the people who tuned in here are my friends forever. So I thank everybody very much.
Thank you so much, David. Can we give David a Zoom round of applause? You can unmute yourself and congratulations, David.
Thank you.
For the consummate storyteller, always. And appreciate so much all of you who shared your thoughts, both verbally and also in the chat. And David will save this chat for you, so you can, there's a lot of wonderful comments there as well. Just for the interest of time, we will close out the official part of this really beautiful and moving event. And Karen, can we have people stick around for another 5 or 10 minutes to just have a...
Yeah, I'm going to stay here. So if folks want to say hi to David, we'll leave the meeting open.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us in the celebration, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening.
You too.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you.
So much, David.
Bye.
Good night, David.
Everything.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night,
David.
Good night. Glad to see you all.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night,
Yeah.
David.
Good night. Yeah.
Congratulations, David.
Good night.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Did you see?
Hey.
Congratulations, David. Bye.
Yeah. Hi, Judith. Yeah.
Congratulations, David.
Well, thank you.
Such an inspiration.
Get yourself in the
Thank
middle,
you.
right there.
Thank you so much, David.
Oh, hi. Thanks.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you, Tim. And there's
Keep working.
Steve Smith, I see there. Hey, Steve. Yeah.
Hey, David, it's your cousin Janice.
Oh, yeah. Hi,
I
Jan.
think he knows you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I got Jan. I got all the sisters came.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
said
my
yeah.
first cousin from Atlanta.
Hi, David.
Hi.
It's sister number one.
That
That means I'm the oldest. That's why I'm number one. Okay. It was a wonderful tribute. Golly, I'm so glad I was able to watch it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
It
I see
was
Betty there.
incredible. We learned so much. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh, hi. Hi, Pat. I can't hear you, Pat. You have to unmute.
Hi, David.
Hi, Pat.
Nice to see you.
Yes. Good to see
And
you.
you look good, considering you look really good. I'm glad you're much better.
Yeah, yeah. I went swimming the other day and swam.
Yeah,
Swam about 30 laps. So,
that's great.
well,
That,
I'm recovering.
yeah, you're
Okay.
looking good.
And here's Dan. Hi, Dan. Because my brother-in-law, Dan. And
Oh, that's nice. You got to communicate with him. Yeah, I didn't think he was talking to me. Well, he was talking to you. He said Pat was. Yeah, unless there's other Pats, but.
yeah. So, hi, Holly. Yeah. And of course, my workout buddy is here. Why don't you say hello?
David, hello, how are you?
Yeah, Rodney and I have been working out together for about 10, 12 years.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It has been all my pleasure, David. I can't say enough about our walks and our talks and we shared a lot over the years, and you've been a great mentor. I'm looking forward to catching up with you after Thanksgiving when I get back. All right.
Okay, sounds good. I introduced Rodney to Machiavellianism, to explain all the creepy people that are out there, and he's become an expert on that now.
Many things, David. Many things. You've introduced me to many things. You've awakened my artistic, what's the word? My artistic desires, I guess you could even say. So my expressions, actually, I should say. So I've learned so much from you, brother. So thank you.
Yeah, Rodney participated on my North Side project. and it did an artwork, a fantastic artwork. And we filmed it, and he never painted before. And he's sitting on camera talking about his painting and what it means to him. And you thought you were talking to like an art faculty member. He never did this before. So you were great.
It was awesome. It was awesome. But you know what? You made everything work. So, you know, it was great being a part of that experience. And you know what? I look forward to our future, your future endeavors, actually, and ours. So,
okay.
All right.
Great. Yeah, good seeing you.
All right. I'll see you next week, though.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
So.
Hi, David.
Who's that? Oh, hi, Suzanne.
Hi, congratulations.
Yeah, that's my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law together there on my wife's side. So.
Great, David.
Yeah.
Very happy for you.
Yeah, Dan, there's a picture that's been floating around on all the documents of me speaking at the college. What's the name of the college again?
University of North Dakota.
North Dakota.
In Grand
And
Forks.
it's me wearing a suit, and Dan took that shot. So if you ever saw that picture, that's the only time I've worn a suit, is that when I talked in North Dakota.
I got the proof.
Yeah, right. So he came to that.
I think you still owe me for that.
I think so. maybe that car, maybe you can get that car, a toy car.
Okay, all right.
So anybody else want to talk about?
Hi, David. Oh,
Are we on?
What?
Yeah.
Hi, David. This is Mark.
Where are you?
With Kathy.
Oh, Mark.
David.
Oh, you're in the back there. I see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's way in the back.
Congratulations. And some amazing things were said, and we just congratulate you. And I just remember all the times we sat at the lake and talked and went for runs and attempted maybe to swim across the lake.
No, he did it. You did it.
You did it. Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, thanks.
We're real proud of you. Real proud of you, David.
Well, great. Thanks, Mark, and thanks, Kathy.
We'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Love you. Bye-bye.
I love you. And is Steve Smith still there? Or did he leave? No, and who else is around who I haven't talked to yet? Oh, so anyone else want to say anything? Otherwise, or ask me a question. What is that? Oh,
Steve Lang.
Steve, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Steve was my student a long time ago in my dimensional painting class.
Yeah.
And he did these wonderful three-dimensional works that had landscapes, and his main theme was a house at that time. And it took that very far. And I used to meet him. He was a guard at the MIA. And I used to talk to him every time I visited the MIA. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I'm in the museum right now. Actually, I'm not doing that job anymore. So, but I'm still at the museum, and I just wanted to say hi. This was a great thing, and I've done a lot of different work, doing writing and stuff like that. And I'm actually writing a novel about a painter in it. And there's an art professor in it. Not saying it's necessarily about you, but it was. There's an inspiration there, so I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. You're still in. Your ideas are still bouncing around inside my head all the time. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Melissa, did you want to say anything?
No, I'm just gonna leave. I'm just wondering if you're gonna come to Cuba with me or not. Haven't had that conversation very seriously yet.
Yeah, if you pay for my plane ticket, I'll go.
Can you travel or not?
Yeah, I can travel.
Huh?
Yeah, I can travel.
All right, we'll be talking.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, you take care. Thank you for the opportunity.
Bye-bye.
Congratulations, eh?
Okay,
Bye-bye.
Good night. Good night, David.
Good night, y'all.
Thank you, Beth.
It was lovely to be here and such an honor.
Thank you, everyone. David, we got about a minute left. You got anything final to say?
Let me see if there's any notes. No, I don't think so. I'm just so appreciative of all the people who came out and paid respects. And, you know, from a kid from Brooklyn to have a dream that this could happen is amazing. I was a quiet kid who never spoke, even in college. Teachers used to call on me and say, you know, in the English class, what do you think of this quote? And I'd answer, what do you think of the quote? And the teacher would call on somebody else after that. And I got away from ever speaking in college. And it wasn't until I did student teaching that I learned how to speak in front of an audience. And that was like terrifying.
Wow.
And now I have no fear of it, but being quiet and always keeping to myself and always doing a lot of reflection and thinking, I never thought I would have so many friends. So this is really great. Thank you all so much.
Does everybody want to unmute and we can say a group goodbye to David?
Bye, David.
Bye,
David, thank you.
Bye. Yeah,
Bye, David. Thank you so much.
Night.
Bye.
Your night, everyone.
Where?
Hey.
Okay, so I'm gonna leave. See you all later. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.